Hey, what is up everyone? So in this video I want to talk about something that I've noticed going on in the community and really exploded this past week, and I think it's a bit of an issue with just how players are reacting to changes in the game. So the thing I've been noticing is players that are in the Insider program, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically like a group of beta testers for Sea of Thieves, and they kind of test out upcoming releases of the game and that kind of stuff. And it's basically open to everyone as long as you're old enough to sign the NDA. So I think it's like 18 that you have to be able to be part of it. But otherwise it's basically open to the public. So it's not really like a secret thing. So it really shouldn't be too hard to keep that information private, because if someone really wants to know, all they have to do is just join the Insider program. With that said, I've noticed recently more and more people leaking insider information. And this is a bit of a problem because it really screws up the feedback that the Insider program's meant to give. What the Insider program's really for is for players that are part of this testing to be able to provide feedback to the developers so that they can make the game better and more polished up before the release. But recently, because Rare has been doing a lot more changes to the game in terms of stuff that used to exist, for example, like we saw the diving mechanic added with Season 11, that was a big change. The recent change to the blunderbuss, that was another one that, is a bit more controversial because these are changing core parts of the game. And some players really don't like change. I'm someone that doesn't really like change that much either, but I'm a little bit more whatever on the situation just because if it's in insiders, they've already basically made the decision. There's small things that insiders can basically influence the developers on in terms of how to implement something, but if they gotten it to insiders, then the decision is pretty much already made. For example, with the blunderbuss situation, once that reached insiders, they already made the decision that the blunderbuss was going to get nerfed. So leaking the information to try to sway the developers and get people on one side of the community all to come and rush to attack it, it's just not going to do anything because the decision's already been made to do it. What the insiders part is for is really just making sure that new update or the change is actually working properly and kind of smoothing it out, making sure it's not like buggy and stuff. It's really bug testing. It's not usually as much feedback as people think it is. I think one of the things I'm noticing with Rare for this year is they're really trying to change up the way the game is. Like I already mentioned with the diving mechanic, we got the new weapons. Season 14 is going to change it up a lot with all the changes to tucking and stuff. So I think people just need to grasp that the game is going to change right now. And you might not agree with all the changes. You actually might hate all of the changes, but you're just going to have to deal with it because this is what's happening. Now with that all said, you are perfectly in your right to be upset about these changes, and you can air your grievances or whatever, but don't leak insider information that you are sworn by an NDA to protect and not release, and don't try to convince your part of the community to go and bombard the forums just to air those grievances. When you do that, you just muddy up the water, and then because any constructive feedback is basically just gone there because it's just one part of the community that's all rushing in to bash whatever the change is. Even if it's a minor change, to me it's just honestly childish the way that some of the players are acting right now doing all this. Especially ones that are adults. Like, it's one thing if you're a kid, like middle school, high school, and you're doing this. It's a whole nother thing if you're like an adult and you're still trying to like get all upset that, a damage thing is changing from 100 to 90 or whatever the case may be. Part of any live service game is adapting to changes. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite basically changes up their meta every 3 months, and people either hate it, which we saw last season, and this season actually with Fortnite, where, the game is completely different than it was before, and some players that are like me just kind of, maybe they don't like it fully, but they adapt to it, and they kind of get used to changes, and part of the fun of live service games is kind of adapting to new things. Or you have the players, like what we've been seeing here with the people that are leaking this information, where they just can't handle the changes because they think it should stay the same for 6 years plus. I do want to make it clear though, like, just because I'm defending Rare in this situation where I don't think players should be leaking this information, that doesn't mean that I am in big support of all these changes that they're doing. I think stuff like the diving mechanic has really hurt areas of the game like tucking, and I'm hoping Season 14 helps fix that. And I think stuff like the blunderbuss nerf actually is going to have a negative effect on the game because now it ruins the combo of like having a sword and a blunderbuss. It's really going to incentivize people with a double gun, like have a blunderbuss and a pistol, because of how they have the knockback set up and how now the blunderbuss only does 90 damage. So you have to use another weapon, and if you're using a sword and the blunderbuss, then it kind of is ruined because you basically knock the player back, so you have to run up to them if you want to finish them off. Whereas if you have double gun, you don't have that situation. You can basically just shoot them with the blunderbuss and then shoot them with one of the other guns or the throwing knives or something like that. So I am not in agreement with the changes that they've been making to the game, but I also don't see any reason for players to be leaking insider information and then muddying the water of the forums, because you're kind of just ruining the point. And I could definitely see a situation where Rare decides, okay, we're not going to listen to the community anymore, turning off the forums because they've become too much of an issue for us and people are leaking information, and whatever the case may be, we will just do internal testing and then we are not going to deal with this anymore. That could totally happen. The fact that Rare had to come out and basically say, hey, we've noticed an increase of players that have never been in Insiders before rushing in to come comment on this forum, and we've seen the people that are posting about it being leaked online. The fact that they actually had to come out and say this tells you that it was a big deal. In general though, I just kind of wanted to come out and talk about this a little bit because I thought it was interesting to see this all kind of unfolding last week. I actually kind of came late to the party. I didn't even see that this change was happening until after all of this started, so I wasn't actually able to give any constructive feedback on the change because of, it basically being locked down because of these bad actors. So yeah, it's not a great situation. If you're someone that really does care about upcoming changes to the game and you are able to get out of the emotional state of, coming in and just being like, every change is terrible and you just want to yell your feelings out, don't join Insiders. But if you think you can go in and be constructive and look at the changes and evaluate them for what they are, consider joining the Insider program. I've been in the Insider program for a few years now. There's been times where there's stuff that I don't like, or stuff that I do like, where I give my constructive feedback for those changes. And that's what it's for. It's a place for us to give feedback to the developers in a more direct way about stuff coming in the future. The last thing I'll say about this is, while I know change is hard, I don't like change at all, I have a feeling that Rare does know what they're doing with these changes. I think in the long term, this is going to be really good for the game. It might not seem like it right now. We might all hate the changes because it's something that we have to get used to and adapt to after being used to it for the past 6 years. But I do think eventually we're going to look back and say, okay, these were good changes. All the weapons feel balanced together and it actually makes sense what they did. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. I think we have to wait and see after more of these weapon changes happen in the future. But for now, that's what I'm thinking. Let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments below. I know it can be a little bit of a touchy subject, and I'm trying to not leak any insider information, so I really was trying to be very vague with this video, so I'm sorry about that if you're not familiar with the situation. But let me know your thoughts down there, and if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.